Sarah Chen pressed her hand against the laboratory window, watching as the massive Zrilak vessel cast its shadow over the Manhattan skyline. The alien ship's crystalline surface caught the morning sun, sending prismatic patterns dancing across the city below. News helicopters circled at a respectful distance, their cameras broadcasting this historic moment to billions of waiting humans. Dr. Chen, they're requesting access to our quantum research facilities, Professor Martinez announced from behind her, his tablet displaying the official request from the United Nations First Contact Office. They seem particularly interested in your team's work on particle entanglement. Sarah turned from the window, her expression thoughtful. At 32, she was the youngest lead researcher at MIT's Quantum Physics Division, and her recent breakthroughs in quantum computing had caught attention even before the aliens arrived. "Let them look," she said, straightening her lab coat. "But watch how they react to our methodology." The Zrilak representatives arrived 3 hours later. Their tall, ethereal forms moved with practiced grace, their iridescent robes flowing as if in a gentle breeze that didn't exist. The lead scientist, who had introduced himself as first researcher Zirix, examined the human quantum computers with an expression that Sarah recognized from her own academic career. Polite dismissal masked as scientific interest. "Your achievements are impressive, considering your species' youth," Zirix commented, his universal translator giving his words a slight musical lilt. "To reach this level of quantum manipulation in mere centuries is unprecedented, if somewhat unrefined." Sarah noticed how he emphasized certain words, the subtle condescension in his tone. She had faced similar attitudes throughout her career, being consistently underestimated by older, established scientists. "We find that necessity drives innovation," she replied, keeping her voice steady. "Humanity has always excelled at making unexpected connections." Zirix's assistant, a younger Zrilak named Vela, showed more genuine interest. "Your approach to quantum entanglement is unusual," she noted, studying the holographic displays. "You're not following the standard unified field principles." "We developed our own principles," Sarah explained, pulling up her latest research data. "Earth's scientific development occurred in isolation, so we had to find our own paths to understanding quantum mechanics." The rest of the inspection passed in a blur of technical discussions and diplomatic niceties. As the Zrilak delegation prepared to leave, Zirix presented Sarah with what appeared to be a simple crystal. "A small token," he explained. "A basic educational tool we give to promising young species. It contains an overview of standard galactic scientific principles." Sarah accepted the crystal with a smile, recognizing it for what it was: a test. The Zrilak wanted to see how quickly humans would abandon their own research paths to follow the established galactic methods. They expected Earth to fall in line, to become another obedient member of their carefully ordered universal hierarchy. Later that evening, as the alien ship departed Earth's atmosphere, Sarah sat in her darkened lab, turning the crystal over in her hands. The quantum equations floating within its structure were elegant, refined by millions of years of alien development. But they were also rigid, locked into patterns of thinking that had remained unchanged for millennia. "They think we'll just follow their lead," she murmured, setting the crystal aside and turning to her own research displays. Her quantum interface theories glowed in the darkness, raw and unrefined compared to the alien equations, but full of potential that the Zrilak couldn't see. "They don't understand what makes us different." Sarah pulled up a new project file, her fingers flying over the holographic keyboard. If the Zrilak thought humans would simply fall in line and learn to follow, they were in for a surprise. Humanity had spent its entire history learning to think differently, to find new solutions to impossible problems. Now, with the galaxy watching, it was time to show them what humanity could really do. The stars might have been watching, but they had no idea what they were about to witness. Humanity's journey from observers to pioneers was about to begin, and Sarah Chen was ready to lead the way. 5 years after first contact, Sarah Chen stood before her assembled team in the newly constructed quantum integration facility. The underground laboratory hummed with energy as banks of quantum computers processed calculations at speeds that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. The Zrilak approach to quantum computing focuses on perfecting the machine, Sarah explained, bringing up a holographic display of alien quantum architectures. They've spent millennia refining their systems, making them more powerful, more precise. But they've missed something fundamental. The display shifted, showing human neural patterns alongside quantum computational matrices. We don't need better machines. We need a better interface. The human brain already processes quantum information. We just need to learn how to speak its language. Dr. Marcus Wong, her chief neural specialist, stepped forward. The prototype interface is ready, he announced, his expression mixing excitement with concern. But the Zrilak representatives are strongly advising against human trials. They claim the risks of merging organic consciousness with quantum systems are too high. Sarah smiled, remembering the crystal of alien scientific principles still sitting on her desk. They think that because they've never succeeded. Their biology is too rigid, too specialized. But human brains are different. We're natural quantum processors. We just don't know it yet. The first test was scheduled for the next morning. Sarah had insisted on being the primary subject, despite objections from both her team and the observing alien scientists. As medical technicians attached the delicate neural interfaces to her temples, she caught sight of Vela, the young Zrilak scientist who had shown such interest in human methods years ago. "Your courage is admirable," Vela said, her translator conveying genuine concern. But interfacing an organic mind directly with quantum systems has driven test subjects mad in every documented attempt. Every alien attempt, Sarah corrected gently. Human consciousness is more adaptable. We evolved to process multiple realities, to imagine possibilities beyond our immediate experience. That's what makes us different. The activation sequence began. Sarah felt the first tingling sensations as the quantum interface synchronized with her neural patterns. The sensation was strange but not uncomfortable, like remembering a dream while still awake. Then the quantum processors engaged fully, and her world exploded into impossibilities. She saw mathematics as colors, probability as music. Quantum equations danced through her consciousness like schools of bright fish, each one carrying fragments of universal truth. Her mind expanded, touching the quantum realm directly, understanding reality at its most fundamental level. The monitoring systems erupted with activity as Sarah's brain began processing quantum calculations at speeds that rivaled the most advanced alien computers. But unlike pure machines, she could intuitively grasp connections that artificial systems would take years to compute. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her words carrying new layers of meaning as quantum possibilities rippled through them. "We were right. Human consciousness naturally exists in a quantum state. We just needed to learn how to access it." The implications were staggering. Within months, thousands of humans had successfully integrated with quantum systems, each one bringing new insights and capabilities. The Galactic Scientific Council was forced to convene an emergency session as human scientists began solving problems that had stumped alien civilizations for millennia. Sarah stood before the council 6 months later, her neural interface now a sleek, almost invisible device that had become part of her. The assembled alien representatives watched with a mixture of awe and unease as she demonstrated humanity's achievement. "We don't seek to replace traditional computing," she explained, as quantum equations flickered through the air around her. "We seek to complement it, to add human intuition and creativity to quantum processing power. This isn't just an advancement in technology. It's the next step in human evolution." As she spoke, news was already spreading through the galaxy. Humanity had done the impossible, bridging the gap between mind and machine in ways that reshaped the very foundations of science. The age of quantum-integrated human consciousness had begun, and with it, humanity's rise to the forefront of galactic civilization. Marcus Rodriguez stood at the helm of the Starship Magellan, watching the massive form of Jupiter's great red spot swirl beneath his vessel. Traditional alien mining ships hung back at a safe distance, their crews monitoring with a mixture of disbelief and fascination as the human vessel prepared for its descent. Integration systems at full capacity, reported Dr. Lisa Chen, Sarah's younger sister and a ship's quantum interface specialist. Her neural implants glowed softly as she processed the storm's complex patterns through the ship's quantum computers. The storm's behavior is exactly as predicted. Marcus nodded, his own neural interface synchronizing with the ship's systems. The Magellan wasn't just a vessel. It was an extension of its crew's combined consciousness, allowing them to react to the gas giant's volatile conditions with unprecedented speed and precision. Zrylac Control is requesting we abort the mission, Communications Officer James Parker announced, amusement evident in his voice. They're saying we're violating at least 15 different safety protocols. Send them our standard response, Marcus replied, a slight smile playing across his face. The standard response had become something of a joke among human crews. Thank you for your concern. We'll take it under advisement. The Magellan began its descent into the storm that had fascinated humanity since they first pointed telescopes at Jupiter. The ship's quantum-enhanced shields deflected winds powerful enough to tear conventional vessels apart, while its sensors mapped the storm's internal structure in real time. First collection point identified. Lisa announced, her consciousness merged with the ship's systems. Heavy metallic hydrogen concentration, exactly where we predicted. Beginning extraction sequence. The vessel's revolutionary harvesting system, designed by Marcus himself, extended into the chaos of the storm. Where traditional mining required stable conditions, the human design worked in harmony with the turbulence, using the storm's own energy to power the collection process. They said this was impossible, Marcus murmured, remembering the dismissive looks from alien engineering councils when he'd first proposed his designs. They said the storms were obstacles to be avoided, not opportunities to be seized. The ship's storage holds began filling with rare resources that powered everything from starship engines to quantum computers. What alien civilizations had dismissed as too dangerous to attempt was becoming a routine operation for human crews. Multiple ships approaching from the upper atmosphere, James reported suddenly. Reading signatures from at least 3 different species, they're requesting permission to observe our operation up close. Marcus smiled. This was happening more frequently now. Alien crews setting aside their initial skepticism to learn from human innovation. Grant them observation status, he ordered. Let them see what happens when you stop seeing obstacles and start seeing possibilities. The Magellan continued its dance through Jupiter's storms, its movements guided by the merged consciousness of its human crew. Through their quantum interfaces, they could feel the pulse of the gas giant, anticipate its movements, work with its forces rather than against them. Hours later, as they ascended from the Great Red Spot, with their holds full of precious resources, Marcus received a private transmission from the Zrylac Science Council. They were requesting a formal presentation on human resource extraction methods, with particular interest in the neural integration aspects of the operation. Should I accept? He asked Lisa, who was still processing the vast amounts of data they'd collected during the descent. She grinned, her neural interface flickering with activity. Of course. But make sure to emphasize that this is just the beginning. We're already drawing up plans for solar mining operations. The alien observers watched in stunned silence as the Magellan docked with their waiting transport ships, transferring enough rare materials to power a small sector's worth of technology. What had seemed like a suicidal mission to them had become a demonstration of human ingenuity. As Marcus prepared the preliminary report for Earth's Resource Development Council, he noted with satisfaction that orders for human-designed mining vessels were already pouring in from across the galaxy. Humanity's reputation was changing. From reckless upstarts to pioneers of the impossible, one innovation at a time. Admiral Helen Park stood motionless before the towering doors of the Galactic Assembly, her dress uniform crisp despite the long journey from Earth. The neural interface at her temple pulsed softly as she reviewed the speech one final time. Countless quantum calculations confirming that this was the right moment, the right approach. "The assembly is ready for you, Admiral," announced Vela, now Earth's primary liaison with the Zrilak Confederation. The young alien diplomat had become an unexpected ally over the years, recognizing before many of her peers that humanity's rise was inevitable and beneficial. "Thank you, Vela," Helen replied, squaring her shoulders. "Let's reshape the future." The assembly chamber stretched upward for what seemed like kilometers, its crystalline walls holding representatives from over 10,000 civilizations. The air hummed with translation fields and diplomatic protocols established over millions of years. Helen felt the weight of history as she approached the central podium. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Assembly," she began, her voice clear and strong. For centuries, this chamber has overseen the ordered progression of galactic civilization. That order has brought stability, but it has also brought stagnation. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The neural interface allowed Helen to sense the shifting quantum patterns of tension and interest among the assembled species. She pressed on, her words carrying the weight of humanity's achievements. "Look at what has been accomplished in the mere decades since humanity joined the galactic community," she continued, gesturing to the holographic displays materializing around her. "Quantum neural integration, resource extraction from extreme environments, breakthroughs in faster-than-light travel, not because we were following the established path, but because we dared to find new ones." The displays showed human ships dancing through gas giant storms, scientists merged with quantum computers solving ancient mathematical puzzles, and colonies flourishing on worlds once deemed uninhabitable. But more importantly, they showed something else. Younger species learning from human methods, adopting Earth's innovative approaches to forge their own paths forward. The current system values age over achievement, tradition over innovation, Helen declared, her gaze sweeping the chamber. "We propose a new way forward, a system where merit determines influence, where new ideas are valued as highly as ancient wisdom, where cooperation replaces hierarchy." The chamber erupted in a chaos of voices and translations. Many of the elder species were rising in protest, while younger civilizations called out in support. Helen remained calm, letting the storm of reaction wash over her. "To demonstrate our commitment to this new path," she continued when the chamber quieted, "Earth is establishing the Galactic Innovation Fund. We will provide our quantum integration technology, our resource extraction methods, and our latest scientific breakthroughs to any species willing to join us in building a more dynamic future." The announcement hit like a shockwave. Earth's technological advances had become crucial to galactic civilization. Offering them freely, without regard for traditional hierarchies, was revolutionary. "This is irregularness," called out First Speaker Xerix, using the formal language of protest. "The established order has maintained peace for millions of years." "The established order has maintained control," Helen corrected firmly. "Peace is not the same as progress. Humanity is offering a chance for both." She gestured, and new holographic displays appeared, showing the preliminary designs for the Galactic Exchange, a massive space station where species of all ages and technological levels could share knowledge freely. "The choice is yours," Helen concluded. "Continue with the old system of rigid hierarchy, watching as more species choose to follow Earth's example, or join us in building something new, a true galactic civilization where every species can reach its full potential." As she stepped back from the podium, the neural interface registered a surge of quantum activity throughout the chamber. Species that had been silent partners in the Confederation for millennia were beginning to stir, inspired by humanity's vision of a different future. The revolution wouldn't happen overnight, but it had begun. And as Helen watched the assembly dissolve into intense debate, she knew there was no turning back. Humanity had shown the galaxy a new path, and soon they would all walk it together. Dr. James Okonjo's quantum interface pulsed with calculations as he stared at the holographic representation of their latest wormhole simulation. The laboratory beneath Lagos hummed with energy as his international team worked tirelessly against an impossible deadline. 7 days to achieve what alien civilizations had failed to do in millions of years. The Zrylak challenge was designed to be unwinnable. Sarah Chen's hologram commented from her position at MIT. Her quantum-linked consciousness allowed real-time collaboration across continents. They're trying to prove that their traditional approach is still superior. James smiled, manipulating the complex equations floating before him. Then they shouldn't have given it to a species that doesn't believe in no-win scenarios. Maya, how's the containment field looking? Dr. Maya Patel's hologram materialized next to Sarah's, her hands moving through streams of data from her lab in Mumbai. The quantum resonance is stable, but we're still seeing temporal feedback loops in the secondary matrix. The challenge had seemed simple on the surface. Create a stable wormhole between 2 points in space, but the complexity lay in the word stable. Previous attempts by other species had all failed catastrophically, leading to the universal assumption that artificial wormholes were impossible. "We're thinking about this wrong," James said suddenly, his neural interface synchronizing with the lab's quantum computers. "Everyone tries to force space-time to bend. But what if we invite it instead?" Sarah's hologram leaned forward, interest sparking in her eyes. "Go on. Look at how we achieved quantum neural integration," James explained, pulling up the original designs. "We didn't force the quantum realm to accept human consciousness. We found the natural resonance between them. What if space-time has similar resonances?" The team worked through the night, their merged consciousness exploring possibilities that no individual mind could grasp. Through their quantum interfaces, they could perceive the subtle patterns of reality itself, searching for the natural frequencies of space-time. "There," Maya exclaimed as dawn broke over Lagos. "The temporal feedback isn't fighting us anymore. It's harmonizing." The test chamber hummed as they initiated the new sequence. Instead of trying to tear a hole in space-time, they created a quantum resonance that space-time itself responded to. The result was beautiful in its simplicity, a stable vortex of swirling energy, bridging 2 points in space. "Zrylak Observer Team requesting entry," announced the lab's AI. James nodded, knowing this moment would change everything. The alien scientists entered cautiously, their instruments extended to measure what they clearly expected to be another failed attempt. The lead observer, a veteran physicist named Crix, approached the containment field with obvious skepticism. "Impossible," he whispered as his readings confirmed what his eyes were telling him. "The power requirements alone should have been astronomical if we were forcing it," James completed. "But we're not. We're working with space-time's natural properties, not against them." He gestured, and a simple object, an apple from his breakfast, floated through the wormhole. It emerged on the other side completely unchanged. The Zrylak observers huddled together, their instruments working frantically to find some flaw, some reason why this couldn't be real. The 7-day deadline was meant to be impossible to meet, Crix said finally, his translator struggling to convey his mix of emotions. "How did you solve it in 5? James shared a knowing look with his team's holograms. "Because we didn't waste time trying to prove it couldn't be done. Humanity has a long history of achieving the impossible, simply because nobody told us we couldn't." As news of the achievement spread across Earth and through the galaxy, James found himself remembering something his grandmother used to tell him. The universe's greatest mysteries aren't solved by those who know the most, but by those who can see with new eyes. Humanity had just opened a door that would change galactic civilization forever, and they had done it not by following established rules, but by finding their own path to the impossible. Dr. Maya Patel stood before the Emergency Council, her quantum interface processing data streams from across the Orion sector. The massive display behind her showed the approaching disaster. a hypernova event that would unleash a devastating gamma-ray burst directly toward 12 inhabited star systems. The traditional evacuation protocols will take 3 weeks, the Zrylak emergency coordinator announced grimly. We estimate the gamma-ray burst will reach the first system in 10 days. Billions will be lost. Maya's voice cut through the growing panic in the chamber. We're not evacuating. We're going to shield them. The alien representatives turned to stare at her. Even Vela, Earth's staunchest ally in the Confederation, looked concerned. Dr. Patel, the energy requirements to shield entire star systems are within our capabilities. Maya interrupted, her neural interface projecting new holographic designs into the chamber center. We've adapted the quantum resonance technology from our wormhole research. Instead of creating tunnels through spacetime, we're creating shields that work with it. The design showed a network of satellites, each carrying a modified version of the quantum resonance generator that had revolutionized space travel. When synchronized, they could create a protective field that would deflect the incoming radiation. We've already begun production at Earth's orbital facilities, she continued. The first wave of shield satellites will be ready in 6 hours. We need immediate authorization to deploy through the emergency wormhole network. The council erupted in arguments. Shield technology at this scale had never been attempted. The risks of failure were enormous. The energy requirements seemed impossible. Maya waited patiently, letting them voice their doubts. Even if this works, the Zrylak coordinator said finally, you can't possibly shield all 12 systems in time. Maya smiled. Watch us. The next hours were a blur of activity. James Okonjo's wormhole network, once considered impossible, now served as humanity's delivery system. Ships from Earth's defense fleet emerged at strategic points throughout the threatened sector, carrying shield satellites and deployment teams. First system shield grid coming online, reported Captain Sarah Rodriguez from the lead deployment vessel. Her consciousness merged with the shield network through her quantum interface, fine-tuning the resonance frequencies. Quantum harmonics are stable. Moving to System 2. Maya coordinated from the emergency council chamber, her enhanced mind processing status updates from all 12 deployment zones simultaneously. The alien representatives watched in amazement as human ships maneuvered with impossible precision. Their crews merged consciousness, allowing them to work at speeds no conventional operation could match. Shield Grid 6 is active, came another report. 7 and 8 initializing. We're ahead of schedule. But nature had other plans. A sudden surge in the dying star's magnetic field announced that the gamma-ray burst would arrive sooner than predicted. They had less than an hour before the radiation wave would hit the first system. All ships, this is Dr. Patel. Maya broadcast across the network. Forget the safety protocols. Use the neural interfaces at full capacity. Push the engines beyond rated limits. We are not losing a single soul today. The human crews responded with characteristic determination. Ships pushed to breaking point, their quantum-integrated pilots navigating by instinct as much as instrumentation. Shield grids snap-deployed in minutes rather than hours. Their operators merged consciousness, ensuring perfect synchronization. The gamma-ray burst erupted from the hypernova, just as the final shield grid powered up. Maya held her breath along with billions of others as the wall of radiation approached the first system. The shields held. Across 12 star systems, populations watched in awe as their skies lit up with ethereal patterns, the visual manifestation of quantum shields deflecting one of space's deadliest phenomena. Not a single life was lost. Hours later, as the emergency response teams began their standard after-action reports, Maya received a private message from the Zrylak coordinator. We were wrong. Again, humanity's methods, unconventional as they are, have saved us all. Perhaps it's time we stopped doubting and started learning. Maya smiled as she composed her reply. The galaxy was finally beginning to understand. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their neural interfaces. It was their absolute refusal to accept what others called impossible. The space station Unity floated serenely at the intersection of 7 major trade routes, its crystalline spires reflecting starlight like a jeweled crown in the void. Admiral Helen Park watched through the observation dome as ships from thousands of worlds approached for the historic ceremony, their designs as varied as the species that created them. "The final delegations are arriving now," announced James Okonjo, his neural interface processing the massive flow of arrival data, including representatives from 3 previously isolated species who want to join the exchange. Helen nodded, remembering how different things had been just a few years ago. The rigid hierarchy of the old Confederation had kept many species from participating in galactic affairs. Now, drawn by humanity's open approach to sharing knowledge and technology, new civilizations were emerging from isolation every day. The Zrilak delegation is requesting a private meeting before the ceremony, Sarah Chen added, her holographic form materializing beside them. The quantum neural interface pioneer had become Earth's chief scientific advisor, her breakthrough having sparked the revolution that brought them to this moment. "Tell them we'll meet in the garden chamber," Helen replied. The station's architectural design reflected humanity's new philosophy: open spaces, transparent walls, and gathering places that encouraged informal dialogue between species that had once been separated by strict protocols. First speaker Zurix had aged visibly since their confrontation in the Galactic Assembly. The stress of adapting to such rapid change had taken its toll on many of the older species leaders. But there was something different in his bearing now, a hint of acceptance, perhaps even anticipation. "We have reviewed the final charter for the Galactic Exchange," he announced without preamble. "The Zrilak Confederation agrees to its terms. All of them." Helen maintained her diplomatic composure, but her neural interface registered a spike of triumph that she shared instantly with her team. The Zrilak had been the last holdouts, clinging to the old ways even as the rest of the galaxy embraced change. "We welcome your participation," she replied formally. "Your experience will be invaluable as we move forward together." "You have changed everything," Zurix said quietly. "When your ships first entered our space, we thought you were simply another young species to be guided and controlled. We never imagined that we would guide you instead." Helen smiled. "Humanity didn't set out to leave the galaxy," first speaker. "We simply refused to follow a path that didn't make sense to us." The inauguration ceremony itself was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. In the vast central chamber of Unity Station, representatives from 10,000 worlds gathered without regard for age or technological achievement. Ancient species stood beside emerging civilizations, all equal under the new charter. "The Galactic Exchange," Helen announced to the assembled multitude, "is not just a new organization, it is a new way of thinking. In this chamber, innovation meets wisdom, youth meets experience. And together, we will reach heights none of us could achieve alone." The quantum interface network hummed with activity as billions across the galaxy watched the ceremony through neural links. They saw the signing of the charter, watched as species that had once been bitter rivals pledged to share knowledge and resources. "Let this station be a symbol," Helen continued, gesturing to the transparent walls that showed the star-filled void beyond. "Like its design, our new covenant is built on transparency, on openness, on the free flow of ideas. Every species has something to teach. Every civilization has something to learn." As the ceremony concluded, ships from across the galaxy performed an intricate dance around the station, their movements synchronized through human quantum interface technology. The display represented everything humanity had brought to the galactic community: creativity, cooperation, and the courage to try new things. In the observation dome, Helen watched the celebration with satisfaction. Earth had transformed from a curiosity to a catalyst, sparking a renaissance that would reshape civilization. The age of isolation was over. The age of innovation had begun. Chancellor Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Galactic University Earth, her neural interface quietly processing data from thousands of research projects happening simultaneously across the campus. Below, the sprawling grounds teemed with students from across the galaxy, their diverse forms moving purposefully between the crystalline buildings that had become Earth's signature architectural style. "Hard to believe it all started with a crystal," came a familiar voice. Sarah turned to see Vela, her iridescent form now bearing the markings of a full Zrylak science elder. The alien who had once watched her early quantum experiments was now a regular guest lecturer at the university. "The educational tool you gave me." Sarah smiled, remembering the small crystal that still sat on display in her office. "I suppose we should thank your people for underestimating us." A group of young aliens approached, their species representing civilizations that would have never interacted under the old system. Sarah recognized the distinctive patterns of quantum neural interfaces adapted to their various physiologies. Her breakthrough had found ways to work with all forms of consciousness. Chancellor Chen, the youngest, a Meridian starborn, stepped forward. "We were hoping you could tell us about the early days. How did humanity advance so quickly?" Sarah gestured to the view before them. The Earth's surface glittered with the lights of a civilization that had become the galaxy's center of innovation. Quantum gates pulsed with activity, connecting Earth to thousands of worlds. Research vessels prepared for expeditions into unexplored space, their crews linked by neural interfaces that made them one with their ships. "We advanced quickly because we had to," she explained. Earth was isolated for most of its history. We developed without outside influence, without being told what was impossible. When we finally joined the galactic community, we brought fresh eyes to old problems. The students settled around her, their neural interfaces linking them into a shared learning space where memories and concepts could flow freely. It was a teaching method that had revolutionized education across the galaxy. But more than that, Sarah continued, we brought hope. Hope that the impossible was simply the undiscovered. Hope that cooperation was stronger than hierarchy. Hope that every species, no matter how young or different, had something valuable to contribute. Through their linked consciousness, she shared memories of those early days. The first successful quantum neural interface test, the daring resource extraction missions, the creation of stable wormholes, the crisis that united the galaxy. Each milestone had seemed impossible until human innovation proved otherwise. The greatest discoveries, she told them, often come from asking questions nobody else thought to ask. Humanity's gift to the galaxy wasn't our technology, it was our perspective. A soft chime indicated the arrival of Maya Patel and James Okonjo, now directors of the university's Advanced Physics and Spatial Dynamics departments. They were scheduled to begin a new research project, probing the foundations of reality itself. Ready to push the boundaries again? Maya asked, her eyes twinkling with the same enthusiasm that had helped save billions during the gamma-ray burst crisis. Sarah nodded, turning back to her students. That's another secret of human success. We never stop reaching. Every answer leads to new questions. Every achievement opens doors to new challenges. The young aliens absorbed this, their neural interfaces processing the concept through the lens of their own species' perspectives. Sarah could sense their excitement, their eagerness to apply these principles to their own research. And that, she concluded, is humanity's true legacy. Not that we solved the galaxy's problems, but that we showed everyone they could solve their own. Each species brings unique insights, unique abilities. Together, there's no limit to what we can achieve. As if to emphasize her point, a research vessel disappeared into a quantum gate, heading for the galactic core to study phenomena that had once been deemed too dangerous to approach. Its crew, a mix of species working in perfect harmony, carried humanity's spirit of innovation to the furthest reaches of space. The universe stretched endlessly before them, full of mysteries waiting to be solved. And thanks to humanity's rise, the galaxy now faced that infinite horizon not with fear or hesitation, but with hope, curiosity, and the unshakable belief that anything was possible.